Well, hello and welcome. You are now listening or watching the Spark Your Creative podcast, and I am your host, Sharon Burton, CEO and author of Creative Sparks 21 Affirmations and Inspirations for Creativity at Midlife. And this is a new and exciting podcast series that I am starting about creative sparks. I thought it would be wonderful to have all of the talented creatives that were a part of the book who shared their testimonies with me and I have with you as far as dealing with different creative blocks and challenges to our creativity as we move through our relaunching, rediscovering, or discovering our creative passions at midlife. And I'm very excited about this series. I'm thrilled to be able to do this and to share um, my book a little more with you in this format. So I just want to welcome you all. If you're new to me, I am a creativity coach. I am also a visual artist and a poet, and now an author. And I wrote Creative Sparks about a year or two ago, and it was published in May of 2024. And it is my love letter to Generation X and to my friends that are baby boomers, both of the groups that are, in retirement or facing retirement and interested in just relaunching or revitalizing their creative passions. A lot of us are looking towards retirement. We're dealing with empty nest syndrome. We may be dealing with a lot of different life choices that is allowing us to have more time to engage in our creative passions. And this is a book to give you a little bit of love and encouragement on that path. Whether or not you've always been creative through your life, you might have had a creative practice when you were younger and had to abandon it because of life be lifing, or you're finding yourself really getting interested in more of a creative life now that you're at an older age and have more time and want to get a little bit of encouragement and confidence to move forward. So that's what this book is about. And with some of the upcoming episodes of this particular series, we're going to be talking about some of the affirmations in the book. There's 21 affirmations, and there are some advice, some tips that I provide, as well as some testimonies from some of my friends who are over 40 and also creatives. And then there's some journal prompts that can help you kind of, take in some of the information. This book is primarily about affirmations, and we're going to start there. And wanted to read a little bit from the introduction that talks about um, affirmations. And so you can get an idea of how I am approaching affirmations in this book and how I suggest that people consider using them. Um, so when we're talking about that, we start off with my journey of rediscovering my creative flow and how I started reading The Artist's Way, a wonderful book by Julia Cameron that came out 30 some years ago, maybe 30 years ago. And it was through this book that I was introduced to the concept of affirmations. In the beginning, I felt it was some kind of way about using them. A lot of times I was thinking they were hokey and they didn't feel like they fit what I felt about myself. I kept saying to myself, how am I a successful artist when I really couldn't even get myself motivated to get into my studio? But the more that I used affirmations, the more confidently I stepped into the role of owning my inner artist. I found myself getting into exclusive exhibitions and art fundraisers that I never thought I would be invited to show at. I found myself open to different ideas for art series, and the use of materials began to emerge. In my morning pages, which is a concept of journaling every morning, which Julia champions in her book, I write affirmations at least 3 times to seal it in before writing my thoughts for the day. I select an affirmation to work with for the week based on whatever negative messages start to emerge from me. By the end of the week, I find myself manifesting something based on the affirmation I selected coming into fruition. So, we're going to start a little bit about what affirmations are. And on page 15 of the book, I share what are affirmations. And I state, let's start by defining what affirmations are. Positive affirmations are basically statements that are in the present tense that are designed to rewrite or challenge negative thought patterns. They can be said out loud, written on paper, or in your mind. And so when we talk about this, again, it's when we write affirmations, and some people may be familiar with affirmations because they're pretty popular right now. They're I statements or my statements, and they're basically, and as I instruct in the book, looking at a negative thought pattern and challenging you to just flip it over and write in the affirmative, and that's basically based on what you visualize yourself being, becoming, experiencing. But instead of saying I will, we're talking about I am. So that's the trick. And it can feel really weird when you first start working with affirmations, especially when you're used to giving yourself a lot of negative messages. And, I'm one of the biggest people that do that. So, if I can work with affirmations and move forward in my art career, anybody can. And on page 21, I talk a little bit about affirmations and how they're used in this book. This book is designed to focus on developing affirmations to deal with common barriers to creativity that can benefit you. The intention of this book is to serve as a guide to help you remember your personal power as a creative, especially one who is rediscovering or discovering your creative interests later in life, or after experiencing life without or with little involvement in creative expression. And I do want to note a one other piece that kind of a disclaimer, so to speak, because um, I know one thing, having worked in a lot of different uh, practices, whether it's meditation, yoga, coaching myself. Um, I think we have to be realistic about the power of anything. I am not one to say that, oh, affirmations is just going to flip your life around and everything's going to be fine. No. But on page 22, I mentioned one of those sort of disclaimer statements, and that is positive self help affirmations are only one set of tools that can help you through a creative rut. Affirmations by themselves, without pairing with other interventions, which include good nutrition, therapy, sleep, stress management, a journaling practice, physical exercise, etc., will not be the end all be all solution to what is allowing your creative block. So, just wanted to mention that. And I wanted to invite a special person that was involved with the book. Matter of fact, she was the one that designed this wonderful cover for the book, and is one of my clients. We've been working together for several years, and she has really blown up as a creative herself. And she also uses affirmations as part of her creative practice. So I'm going to um, just introduce to you Roxanne Bradley Tate, who is joining us on this particular episode. So, hi, Roxanne.
Hello, Sharon. Thank you for having me. So
Thank
happy to
you.
be here.
Yeah, thank you for being here and being a part of this podcast series. And again, thank you so much for your contribution to the book and for being such a great client. So let's start off. Tell us about you, what you do as a creative, and just, basically, how you show up in the world as a creative individual.
Okay. Well, as a creative, I am a graphic designer and an illustrator. Within the realm of graphic design, I focus predominantly on brand identity design. So I do a lot of logo designs and identity systems for businesses that are just starting out or who are established and want to refresh their look and feel. And then I support them in any other marketing, packaging, any other identity, like any other element of design that is needed to support their business. And then over the years, I found myself also including illustration in that service package. And so now I've been doing a lot of illustration work in addition to my graphic design work. So I am proudly taking on the title of illustrator as well. So that's what I've been busy with the past few years. And prior to that, I worked a lot in corporate America, and I just made the move to be an independent freelancer contractor, and I am enjoying the freedom and the flexibility that that lifestyle provides,
And
and
you made that,
creativity too.
yeah, and you made that decision since you've been 40, right?
Oh, yes. I made that decision after my first child was born. It was just, it felt natural. So it was prior to the pandemic. I just made the request of my employer at the time if I could work from home. And that started it. And from there, I have not gone back. It's been a little tempting sometimes, but I definitely love the ability to choose who I will engage with, who I work with, what type of projects I work on. It has just been a joy.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. Um, Again, I invited Roxanne not only because she's such a great and talented creative person, but also she works primarily with affirmations as far as her creative practice is concerned and how she moves forward with her life. And I probably dare say, when you made your decision to leave corporate America, there were some, you know, working with affirmations and really kind of working with yourself to do that. So you use affirmations. And so, how have they worked for you in the past and with your creative life and presently?
Mhm. For me, affirmations just have been a vehicle to assist me with a mindset or a mood shift. And I feel like for me personally, sometimes that's all I need to kind of get out of a block or what I call a funk that's limiting me and not allowing me to see the potential or even to take the first step. So I I've been fortunate to work with coaches, and then you yourself, Sharon. Even sometimes I was thinking about this. I come across your affirmations on your social media posts, and they will come at the right time, at the right moment. I'm having a bad week. I keep putting off a project that I know I need to get to, but there may be some hesitation in me internally. Either I'm having some sort of you know, limiting thoughts or shadow beliefs that I'm not prepared for it, or I'm not good enough, or I haven't developed my skills enough to even have this project. I will come across an affirmation or I will read an affirmation that will just get me over that little hump and get me started. And usually that's all I need is just to take the first step. And then the rest are a lot easier. So that's the main way I use them in my practice currently. And then honestly, in my life, because my life is at home and it's so intertwined with my career, I just feel like, and my creativity, I need them all to flow. So affirmations are not just limited to my creative practice. They're for everything.
Mm. So do you write your own affirmations?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And that I have been inspired by affirmations that I may come across from either books that I've read, or, for example, like I said, the things that you've posted before, or um, podcasts or radio shows. I definitely have had inspiring moments, and I've wrote those down and kind of, but I always feel like when I personalize them for my needs,
Mhm.
I get the best outcome. Um,
Right.
yeah, so yes. So I just feel like the personalized route is the best route for me.
And that's one of the reasons why I did this book too, because I help people write them for themselves. Because originally, when I first started doing affirmations, I would just use whatever I saw, especially if it appealed to me and like, oh, okay, I'll do the. But when you write them yourself based on what the outcome, the vision, what you want to manifest for yourself, if you're dealing with a creative block, if you're dealing with a belief system that's within you that you want to conquer, that just causes that takes it to a whole different level because you own that affirmation. It's no longer just something you read and like, oh, cool, I can agree with that. No, it's about you. It's about you. So tell me, what ways have you used them? Do you write them down? Do you record them? Do you put them in around your house? How does that work for you?
So for me, in the beginning, I used to write them, and I felt like over time, just working with coaches, I've I've learned that I, again, just for me, that's a little limiting. I
Mhm.
feel like I want to bring them alive. I want them in my space. I want them internalized in a deeper way. So the writing is step one. And
Mhm.
then I like to take it to another level. I worked with a phenomenal coach, a mindset coach by the name of Darcel Bean. And I have taken up two of the practices that she advised. I was in a group coaching session as well as a one-on-one. And from those sessions, I just learned that the first the first strategy that I use is I use my own voice. Like audibly. I want to hear my voice.
Okay.
So I record, at first I write the affirmations, and I was on a really good schedule. And I used to do this like every 3 to 4 months because I just feel like they also they need to be organic, they need to be alive, they need to be in the present. So I would rewrite them every 3 or 4 months, and I would record my voice reading them over a specific frequency of music. And then I would listen to them when I first wake up per her instruction, and then right before I went to bed.
Okay.
And I will say I have gone back and read some of those affirmations, and I have just been blown away by the outcome. Just because again, I feel like there's something empowering about not just reading and leaving it here, but then speaking the words and then hearing them before you go to sleep and right as you wake up, like these really critical points just in your mind as your
Right.
brain, the functionality of your brain. So it was that that was a major shift for me. And I am super excited that it's like the new year, because I'm like, yes, it's time for a new list to get ready for the new year. But yeah, that's one strategy I use. And then the second one is water affirmations. So I literally speak the words into water and I drink the water and I internalize them. And what sold me on this, I have to be honest, when I first heard it, I was like, maybe this is a little too much.
A little woo-woo, right?
Maybe it's a little too woo-woo. In all transparency, my background is the Baptist church,
Right,
So
right. I get you.
sometimes
I got it. I got it.
sometimes, I'm like, okay, I can step into this, but I don't want to go too far. But when you think about just the science of it, if we can speak to a plant and that plant grow with positive words, you know what I'm saying? If words are that powerful, just the frequency in the positivity causes growth. Why can't I speak to myself,
Right, right.
And then
And
if
that's what
I'm
it's
mostly
about.
water,
Yeah.
this is all science. This isn't woo-woo. This is science. If I'm mostly water, why can't I speak into water and then internalize it when my body needs it anyway? And it is me. So the words literally become me. And I tell you, again, I go back and I listen because I take that same list that I use for the recording and I speak that and I internalize it. Every once in a while, I just feel like I need a reset. I need to get tightened up. I need to focus, or I feel like I'm a little off balance, or my goals are just not as clear, or I'm not achieving them in the way I'd like to. I use that as a way to just rebalance myself. And it has been unbelievable. So again, those are my two biggest practices, the recording over the positive frequency and then the internalizing with the water affirmations. And I always end them in the name of Jesus, amen. So I can
Ain't nothing
feel
wrong with that.
that spiritual connection as well, but
Right.
unbelievable in
And
just mindset, that shift that I need.
I think that you brought up a few different things. I think that when we talk about um, the different kinds of ways that we can use um, affirmations, they don't have to be just writing down. You can record yourself with it. You can, do, to speak to the water, and all that kind of thing. So those are things that we can always use. I think the other thing to keep in mind is that, you can tie it into your spiritual, practice, if that's comfortable for you. So whether it's through prayer, or whether it's through meditation, whether it's through yoga or whatever, those are just the different things that you can use. So I think it's great. Can you give us an example? I don't think I put this question down, but I think you can handle it. Can you give us an example of maybe a something that you were working on creatively, that by doing the affirmation exercises, it kind of came into fruition or helped you maybe get past a block or a difficult situation?
Yes, yes, yes. And this is a recent one. I have done 15 children's activity books over the past, I'd say maybe 8 years. So it's a reoccurring series. It originated with the company that started it, but then as time went on, a few school systems or a few school districts decided they wanted a custom version of this children's activity book that helps kids log their reading. So it's usually over the summer. It's a reading program that goes along. It aligns with like libraries reading programs or summer reading challenges. And so it's a sticker book and it has all these activities, and the more books you read, you can put your stickers on. It has an app component. So it's an awesome product. And as time went, when I first started it, I was really leaning on the designer end of things. And as time went on into the present, I'm doing a lot more illustration work. And this past book, oh, and I would say right when I get past that sketch phase and it's actually time to execute the approved sketches, there was this little voice, or I had this block that I could not start it. I don't know why. And like I said, this is the 15th book. I could not understand after 15 books. This should be easy. This should be something I could do in my sleep. But for whatever reason, the schedule wasn't compressed. I had time to really get in and make the illustrations beautiful. And the subject matter of the book was Hawaii. And this particular book was all about the tropical rainforest in Hawaii. So I had to do a lot of research on indigenous animals and insects and foliage. So there was a lot of research, like every leaf I drew had to be Hawaiian and it had to be indigenous, not something introduced. So very reflective of their ecosystem. So I was super excited about it, but I could not start. And then I just started telling myself something. It was so simple. Roxanne, you are an illustrator. That's it. And I just kept saying, you are an illustrator. And
Yes.
if you could see the first book I did, book 1, compared to book 15, there are times when I look at the book, I'm kind of like Steve Urkel. Did I do that? It doesn't even, I mean, I'm extraordinarily proud of the outcome. The client is very happy. But when I look at it, and like I literally just got printed samples of it, what is it, Friday? So I literally don't believe I did it. Like, it doesn't even look like mine.
Yeah.
But I do believe I made that quantum leap because I just kept telling myself, just get over it. You're
Right.
doing it. You are an illustrator.
That's
You know,
right.
I've had these books have been published. Children all over the country get them. And this is the first time I feel like I really owned it and it's reflective in the work. So that is a perfect example of just a really simple mind shift and then a really simple affirmation that just made all the difference at the right
Awesome. 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 Awesome.
time.
Oh gosh, we could talk all day, couldn't we? It's just so much. And then we've worked together for quite some time, so we're always like on the same plane. Um, Tell people about how they can find out about you and your own work, where, websites, social media, all that. And we'll have that in the show notes. But for those that might be listening, if you could just share how we can find out more about you.
Okay. So for my graphic design work, you can go to roxannebradleytate.com. And that is where my design portfolio is. And you can see several samples of my work, learn a little bit more about my process, as well as how to contact me. And then for my illustration work, I work under roxytate.com. You can find my illustrations, and I'm a lot more active on social media with my illustration work. So Roxy Tate is my handle on Instagram. That's where I'm most active.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to thank you, Roxanne, for being a part of my project. And but most of all for sharing about how you've been using affirmations. And I think you brought up some really good examples that people can use. And I'm really, really stoked on how they've worked for you and how this book project really just sort of dovetailed with, what you actively do on your own and what I wanted to bring to fruition to people like ourselves to kind of move forward with projects like what you talked about. So, thank you so much for doing that. And for those of you that are interested in Creative Sparks 21 Affirmations and Inspiration for Creativity at Midlife, you can get the book on Amazon.com. It comes in Kindle as well as a paperback. And you can learn more about the book and how I came up with the concept, as well as some of the upcoming book signings and events that I'll be doing. You can reach me and the book at sparkyourcreative.com /book. You can learn more about it, my interviews, and also in the event section of the website. Um, I have a few book signings and activities coming up. So if I'm in your neck of the woods and not just in my local area, I do travel a little bit. I would love to meet you in person and talk to you about the book and do a book signing. And also, if you want to learn more about what I do, I am a creativity coach and I work with creatives such as Roxanne, who can attest to how I've worked with her. You can learn more about my services there. I am also located on Instagram at Spark Your Creative and Facebook at Spark Your Creative Coach. Again, thank you so much for listening and watching us for this new series of the Spark Your Creative podcast. And I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. And please, if you haven't subscribed already on SoundCloud for the podcast or YouTube for the videos, feel free to do so. Share your thoughts. Love to hear from you. And I will see you next time. Take care and stay creative.